he's got quickness in the hole, and he's got top end speed.
Yep, exactly, and that's the thing is if you have those are the traits that I'm looking for, and to me the most important one is one that I know that you've always valued in backs and just players in general is just toughness, and that's where when they put. It seemed like every time when they got close to the end zone, I mean, he would either be the running back or he'd be, taking the ball out of, not as a wildcat or necessarily, but, out of taking the direct snap himself. And so, that just kind of speaks to his ball skills, as you said.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a really good player. He's going to be a really good NFL player.
Well, I agree, and it's again you're such a pro, Scott. I mean, again, another great segue because let's talk about some of the best pro players, and we're getting to that time. Obviously, we got the playoffs coming up, the playoffs going on, but we also, of course, for the teams that aren't in the playoffs anymore, and there's a lot of individual players out there deserving some awards. So I was going to kind of go through some of these awards and then kind of give my vote for the players or coaches or executives that I think deserve some consideration and then whatever thoughts that you might have on them. And so for me, for the MVP talk, you know how it goes. I mean, I'd love to highlight a running back like a Todd Gurley or a defensive player, but let's face it, it's the quarterback position. And I love Drew Brees. I love Andrew Luck, but I don't know how we can not acknowledge the brilliant year that Patrick Mahomes had. And so for me, just the production that he had is why he would get my vote as MVP for this season. Do you have any thoughts on MVP race?
Yeah, I do. And the thing about it is I'm old school Drew Brees.
Yeah. I can't argue with it. I mean, it's...
new school Patrick Mahomes. But you know what? The guy's never won it, Drew Brees, and he deserves it.
He certainly does. The argument I'd have against it, I suppose, if I was to argue, would just be if I was really to try and break down the whole most valuable player thing, I think that the Saints would still be a, 5, 6, 7 win team because of the talent on defense and their running game and all that. Now, certainly, I think the Saints right now, if I had to make a bet and say the team I think is going to win the Super Bowl, I would take the New Orleans Saints. That's the team I feel most confident. Is that who you're thinking as well at this point?
Yeah. The thing about it, Mahomes probably deserves it because what he can do,
Yeah.
But Drew Brees, he's been incredible for how many freaking years, I mean, it's just...
Well, exactly. It's almost, MVP isn't good enough. I want like a lifetime achievement award. I want them to waive the 5 years, and just put him in the Hall of Fame. And if he walks in and wins the Super Bowl like I think that he might, then, just that much more. I mean, you're not going to get a strong argument from me about anything disparaging on Drew Brees. I mean, I don't know how the man can gain more respect than what he's already done, but it just seems like that's his goal because he is just what a phenomenal year, what a phenomenal man. It's kind of like you talk about Dabo Swinney. He's a great coach, but an even better person. Drew Brees, from all accounts, is a great player, of course, but even better person. So I certainly would love to see him get acknowledged.
No doubt about it. You can't say any better. I promise you, he is who he is, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and a son of a gun, going from San Diego to freaking New Orleans with a bad shoulder, and everybody's saying he's not going to be able to play again and all that. The guy's still playing. The guy's still rolling. And he makes, the thing that's interesting about players is how you make the ones around you better. And he makes them better. He makes the O-line better. He makes the tight end better. He makes the receivers better. He makes the running back better. And that's how you identify legit, good football players. And he's done it. He's done it nonstop.
Well, that's an excellent point. Excellent point. All right, well then let's move on to a different one of the categories, and that'd be one of my favorite awards the NFL has come up with over the years is the comeback player of the year. And so there's some, I think Andrew Luck is most likely to win it. I mean, and certainly I think any credit that the Colts get, whether it be Luck, whether it be the coaches, whether it be the executives, whether it be defenders, I think the Colts deserve a lot of credit. And so just in general, and I could make the argument that Richard Sherman had a pretty darn good year in San Francisco as well, Deshaun Watson. But the guy, for my money, I'm giving the comeback player of the year. You know me, I'm old school, I like defense too. J.J. Watt. I mean, he played in 8 combined games the past 2 seasons. He started all 16 this year, finished with 16 sacks, career high 7 forced fumbles, which tied in with Kansas City's D Ford for the NFL lead this year in the regular season. Just a phenomenal season. And so it's kind of like we talked about before with Drew Brees and how you want to kind of give him an award just because of not just this year, but his entire career. I don't know that anybody on the defensive side of the ball has meant more to the NFL over the last few years than J.J. Watt. And so I'm rooting for J.J. To get some type of acknowledgement in the comeback player of the year. I think would be a good start.
No, I totally agree. You know what? And again, we go back to what he did coming off injury.
Yep.
And the fact that he produced like he produced. But also, see, it's so important to me not just to have football players, but good guys.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy. The guy takes care of his community. The guy plays hard. He makes plays at a tough position. He plays inside, outside, and gets hit every snap. But to see him bounce back the way he did, I'm with you. I'm J.J. Watt through and through.
I got you. All right, well, let's see if we agree on the Rookie of the Year, because I don't know that we're going to. So I got an offensive Rookie of the Year and a defensive Rookie of the Year. And offense, I'll just let you, I'll let you make your pick and tell me why you think your pick.
Go ahead. Give me your defensive player of the year.
All right, well, for my offensive player of the year, real quick, I'm going to just say Saquon Barkley. Now, I get Baker Mayfield. I get...
No. You're fine. Don't worry about Baker. I love Baker to death, just so you know.
Well,
Saquon deserves it.
He does. I mean, just the numbers are ridiculous. I mean, and they were for Baker as well. But Saquon, just considering how poorly a lot of New York played around him, I mean, to have 2,000 total yards, 1,300 rushing yards, 700 plus receiving yards.
I'm with you. I love to say Baker, but I can't because Saquon running the ball, catching the ball, making a bad team average was perfect.
All right, we agree. So let's look at defensive Rookie of the Year. And
why do you think I was going to disagree with you?
Well, it's not that I thought I disagree.
We're good.
Well, I think with Baker, because we've talked so much about Baker, and I think that I can't argue with Baker if he wins.
No.
I think he deserves it.
He's going to be a damn good player. He's going to be a good player for a long time. But Saquon deserves it.
Yeah, I think he's going to win it. I think that, to me, the fairest thing would be to do co-offensive Rookie of the Year, but I like winners. I don't like ties.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
And
no. Give it to Saquon. Baker had a good year, but not a great year. Saquon had an excellent year.
And I do want to mention just the name Philip Lindsay for Denver. He had a spectacular year, right? And he deserves at least getting mentioned in this, because that's definitely. He had a great year. I just don't know. I can't justify voting him over Baker Mayfield or Saquon Barkley, but still.
No.
He's phenomenal.
He's going to Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
He's fine.
He's getting his
I know he's hurt.
Yeah.
But he's still he's going.
He's getting his acknowledgement. So, all right, well, on the defensive Rookie of the Year, to me, defensive Rookie of the Year this year is fascinating. And it's, we talked about old school. We kind of like defense. I mean, what a great year for defensive rookies this year. I mean, you can make a strong argument for Bradley Chubb, 12 sacks. You can make an argument for Darius Leonard of the Colts. I mean, he led the NFL in tackles, 7 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. I mean, he did it all. You could make an argument for Derwin James, the Chargers. You can make an argument for Denzel Ward. I mean, there are some spectacular players for me, and it kills me to say it, because I watched him put out the Seahawks, but Leighton Vander Esch, I think, was just phenomenal this year. I mean, 140 tackles, which was third in the NFL. He had 9 passes broken up, so he's not just a downhill player. He can play in space. His speed, his instincts. Scott, I think that Sean Lee is one of the better linebackers in all the NFL when he's healthy. And Leighton Vander Esch, and I guess Jalen Smith as well, certainly in Dallas. But, I mean, they put Sean Lee on the bench. I mean, this kid has had a phenomenal year. I think you can make an argument for any one of those players, but if it was me, I would give it to Leighton Vander Esch. I thought that he had a phenomenal year for the Cowboys, and I think that he's one of the reasons why the Cowboys made the playoffs at all, and certainly among the reasons why they beat Seattle.
I'm going to give you the winner, and it's hands down.
Okay.
Darius Leonard.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with it. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous.
Beyond. You know, and the guy came from a small school.
Yep.
Stepped in as a rookie and did what he did. Yeah. You know, and I loved him coming out.
Yeah.
I didn't know, as a person, I didn't know him. Personality, I didn't know him. Background, I didn't know him. As a pure player, that guy is going to be special. He's going to be special, and he already is.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy led the league in tackles.
163 of them. 7 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 10 passes defensed. I mean, just
think about that.
163 tackles. Yeah, you're averaging 10 tackles per game. I mean, as a rookie, and as you said, I mean, coming from South Carolina State.
Yeah, he had 13 the other night.
Yeah,
in the playoff game. I mean, it's amazing what he's doing. It's amazing. And you know what? And not trying to pinpoint him on something that's really special, but I'm not so sure he's not a better pass rusher than he is run player.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things he is asked to do a lot. And so that's what's exciting about him, is that he's already this good, and you can see that there's some areas that he can improve on, and his numbers could be through the roof moving forward.
No doubt. You know, and I'm telling you, as a rookie, especially when you're playing linebacker and rushing the passer and all that stuff, you got so much new stuff coming at you.
Yeah.
To be able to function like he did is incredible. Ballard's done a great job there, identifying football players, and that's what he is. The guy's a football player. Now, does he get in trouble going down the road? I hope not.
Yeah.
But the guy's a football player.
He certainly is that. He's had a phenomenal season. Big reason why the Colts have had the success they've had, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Well, let's move on. Another one of my favorite awards is the Breakout Player of the Year. And so I wanted to just mention a couple of different guys. And again, these are going to be defensive guys, because that's just kind of my mentality. And I don't know. I look at, like, there was 3 guys who I thought just kind of maybe even 4 guys who kind of exploded out of nowhere. And the one who had the flashiest numbers, or at least among the flashiest numbers, DeForest Buckner for the 49ers. I mean, he had just 3 sacks a year ago, Scott. He had 12 this season. 12, you know, and he's DeForest Buckner. I mean, we're talking about, you know, he's all a 6'6", 6'7", 280, 300 pounds. This is a big man to get that many sacks is impressive. Chris Jones in Kansas City, again, he had 6.5 sacks last year, 15.5 this year. I believe he had sacks in 11 straight games, which is just insane. And then Kyler Fackrell, former Utah State linebacker that kind of became the next Clay Matthews a little bit in Green Bay, 10.5 sacks this year. But, you know, I got to stick to my Seattle roots every now and then. They're kind of, you know, they could use some a little bit of a boost after kind of a tough loss. But Jaron Reed, now this is a player I was very high on when Seattle drafted him in the second round out of Alabama. When I went to the Senior Bowl, I saw him gain some work on his hands, and I thought, if this kid can learn how to use his hands better, I do think he can be a better pass rusher than he was. But I can't claim that I thought he was going to jump from 3 combined sacks over his first 2 seasons to 10.5 this last year. I mean, that's just what an incredible jump it is for him. I think that if you want to make an argument of why Seattle became one of the better teams in the NFC and obviously made the playoffs after starting off 0-2, I would say it's not just the running game. Everybody focuses on the running game. Everybody focuses on Russell Wilson. But the fact that they developed a second pass rusher along with Frank Clark is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why the Seahawks surprised and play as well as